I've noticed a really weird trend in my lifetime among my favorite type of game, that being competitive games. And that trend is that they are literally f***ing immortal. Some of the current esports come from franchises that are literally older than me, and I'm knocking on the door to my 30s. Some of the old ass games that I'm thinking of are ones like Tekken and Counter-Strike, Super Smash Bros, just to name a few. I'd rather suck on the sandwich lady's stale baguette than play any of those games right now, because speaking of stale, that is one stale list of games. The newest popular esport to come out recently that I can think of is Valiant, and even that is just a improvement on the already ancient CSGO. If you count Overwatch 2 as a new game, just why are they making Overwatch 2? Like, CSGO 2 would be that's so much more necessary. What are we doing? Esports are just in a weird state right now, where Battle Royale is a dying genre, and every other game, it feels like, has existed since the beginning of the internet. I'm actually waiting for Quake to come out of retirement over here, so I'll keep you posted on that. Competitive games break into the market so infrequently, it's actually insane. With so many games being basically released in a dead on arrival state, it's no wonder that these old but yet still pretty good games are able to stay on top of the esports landscape. However, more recent successes like Valorant and Fortnite show that there is still room for new games to come in and get a little bit of that market share away from those giant old games. I've been crying about it my entire life, but I swear to you, there is a gap in the market for a fast-paced, action-packed third-person shooter that doesn't collab with Travis Scott, just like my little dying baby, GunZ Duel. A few years ago, I tried really hard to revive my favorite game, GunZ Duel. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to go down that rabbit hole, there's quite a few videos about it on my channel. That's actually what I'm most known for, so it's my best stuff for a reason. Go check it out. What I learned trying to revive GunZ is that no matter how hyped you get a community or how many millions of impressions that you generate for that dying IP, passion alone will not revive a dead game. While I'll admit we brought some super fun temporary life to GunZ, without the help from the developers or a super rich investor that's willing to make a proper spiritual successor, the game is going to stay in the state that it is right now, and that's kinda dead, and it sucks. There's actually been quite a few games over the years that have gotten a proper revival through community engagement and super talented developers, and those stories, those success stories, interest me so much because they were actually able to accomplish what I couldn't for my favorite game. Today I want to explore some of those games that actually got revived, and even some of those that didn't, to see what it takes to actually revive one of these dead games. If you're still listening, I would really appreciate if you could like the video, and by the time I'm done, if you could leave a cool little comment, talk about the video, let me know what you thought, talk to me about some stuff, let's get it. Maybe you've heard of this game company, Nintendo? Nintendo has a very strange philosophy in how they create, market, and sell their games. They are the only game company that I can think of that really just keep us eating out of their hands like a dang donkey. These guys are hilarious. They will just charge $60 for a game that is 5 years old with no shame because they know the donkeys are going to keep coming back to the trough. This philosophy has worked very well for them, clearly, but they haven't been able to keep their greedy paws on just one game and one game alone. And that game is Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube. See, Nintendo thought that they were going to do what they always do, which is create a game, sell it for $60, and sell it for $60 until the end of time or until the sequel comes out, and, you know, yeah, move on, rinse and repeat. But what Nintendo didn't know is they actually made a sick-as-hell video game that the community, no matter what, would not let die. No matter how badly Nintendo wanted to end support for Melee, the community just would not let them do so. Because this video isn't about the entire history of dead games, I suggest that you go look up some information about the Melee revival story, because there's tons of it on the internet and these are great stories, and I'm going to touch on a few of them here. So this is, you know, the quick and dirty. So yeah, go check out some more content. Through community support, the game is still super active. They have a community that mods and hosts giant tournaments, huge tournaments actually. It's still one of the biggest esports today. This game is now like 21 years old. Like, Melee can go get a drink in the States, bro. That's nuts. If Nintendo had their way, Super Smash Bros. Melee would have died a long time ago. But the community just decided they weren't having it. And I'd say the game is as popular now as ever. This is an example of one of the greatest revivals in gaming history, but what about a game that just couldn't cut it? If you're an old timer like myself, you might remember this old game, AVA, or Alliance of Valiant Arms. That's a mouthful. It was an old school free-to-play Counter-Strike clone before Counter-Strike itself was free-to-play. It came out in like 2009, somewhere around there, and for the time, it was honestly pretty decent for a free-to-play game. It was hosted over on EG, which is where my little baby, GunZ Duel, was hosted. Which, by the way, EG actually hosted some pretty awesome games, and maybe I should make a video on like all of the, maybe I should, what happened with this game on EG, where it was then and where it is now, spoiler, they all died. Maybe I won't make that video. Okay, moving on. Anyways, like I said, the game was decent for 2009, but earlier this year I saw some articles popping up for a relaunch of this game, that AVA was coming to Steam, and I thought I must have crossed timelines or something, because there's just no way in the world that AVA, a Counter-Strike clone from 2009, thought it was a good idea to try to market a comeback in 2022. Should we tell them? Should we tell them? Should we tell them? There's no space for a free-to-play Counter-Strike clone because Counter-Strike itself is free-to-play, dude. Why though? Why? I'm gonna offend like maybe a dozen people here, but some things should just be left offline, dude. You know what I'm saying? But some things shouldn't be left offline, like our next game that I want to talk about. Okay, look, I just fucking love Rocket League. It's the game that actually feels the closest to guns to me in a way, because every time I play it, I feel like the skill ceiling is just infinite, and I can always get better, and I bet even the best players in the game feel that same way. Every time I log in and play, there's like that 1% chance that I get a little bit better, and then it makes an actual difference in my gameplay from then on going forward, and that is like my favorite feeling in competitive gaming. The skill cap in Rocket League is actually so insane that I've peaked at Champ 1, and I know that the players in Champ 2 are actually just so much better than me, like leaps and bounds better than me, because at the top of the chain, that's just how that game is, and I love that. I love that because I know that no matter how bad I dog on my friends in that game, like there's so much better players out there than me that I can aspire to and improve to, and it just reminds me of that old school GunZ Duel feel in that way with the skill cap. There's not many games that feel like the skill cap is truly infinite, and that makes for a great competitive game. But why is Rocket League in a video about game revivals, you ask? Well, people who have played a decent amount of Rocket League know that Rocket League is actually almost a bit of a sequel and a bit of a revival story itself. Before Rocket League, the game supersonic acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars existed, and for a few reasons it wasn't as nearly as popular as Rocket League. SARPBC, as the internet calls it, walked so Rocket League could aerial. Dude, this is ridiculous. I'm calling it battle cars from now on. What kind of... No wonder this game fucking sucked. I didn't ever actually play Battle Cars because it was a PlayStation 3 exclusive, and although free to play, a PlayStation 3 was like $600 when it came out, so I never even got a PS3 until right before the PS4 came out, because my mom wanted to buy the Xbox Arcade that was $200, and it red ringed 9 times. Thanks, moms are soft. Being a PS3 exclusive was probably one of the reasons why Battle Cars did fail from the outside looking in. I feel like the idea of online free-to-play console games was actually pretty fresh in 2008, so they might have just been like a little ahead of their time with it as well. I wonder if Battle Cars would have been more popular had it been brought to a wider PC audience at the same time that it were released exclusively on PS3. Honestly, regardless, it just doesn't really matter that Battle Cars never popped off, because today we have Rocket League. A free-to-play, super-duper competitive, revived version of Battle Cars anyway. Thanks, Psyonix. You could have given up, but you didn't. You know who I wish would have given up? The next game we're going to talk about. If you ever got into the Saints Row games in the late 2000s, you knew what was up, dude. Those games were super underrated. They had online play, so you could go into an online version of what's basically like Grand Theft Auto Online today with your homies, except it was back when I had a Motorola RaiderZ. Saints Row is one of those franchises that just never took itself too seriously and was always fun, whether you were playing online or alone. Now, this video is about game revivals, not sequels, but if the developers of Saints Row made this video, we'd be on number 4 already, and speaking of number 4, that is when Saints Row started to take a turn for the worst, in my opinion. Also seems like the same opinion of game reviewers, mostly the user reviewers, but we're the ones that matter anyway. What do critics know? Fucking losers. So after creating a Grand Theft Auto clone, the developers of the game are like, let's do the actual opposite of Grand Theft Auto, and instead of never, ever coming out with a sequel, let's come out with a sequel literally like all the time. Like whenever we're like bored or like feeling down or whatever, throw a sequel out, bro, make them rain. But after enough sequels, they had their best idea yet. Game revival, dude. We gotta revive the series, a refresh, a reboot. We're bringing Saints Row back. And ouch. The developers are over here just beating the ever-loving hell out of this game with sequels, and then on top of that decide to reboot it, and I'm just over here like, why can't you reboot, remake one of the best freaking games ever created? I have the best idea to revive/create a game. It just requires a lot of money and talent, which is what probably everyone says. But I'm telling you, man, just trust me. In the introduction to this video, I mentioned how in competitive gaming, it feels like all the game franchises are super old, or they come from super old franchises, or are from ideas built upon the very beginning of online gaming itself. Competitive games as a whole are just old. So now it's time to come full circle, so I can wrap a bow on this damn thing and talk about a game that deserves a real, true, proper revival. GunZ the Duel. So when talking about competitive third-person shooters, it's just impossible to not talk about the one that makes adults want to throw up. That game is Fortnite, and I don't like talking about it because all the little guys in the comments get real mad and real upset. I understand that Fortnite checks a lot of the boxes of what I'm looking for in a competitive game, but I don't want, 1, my competitive game to be a battle royale, or 2, be a game that collabs with Ariana Grande. I'm so sorry I don't like your little baby game for babies. I swear there's a huge gap in the market for a third-person shooter that isn't a battle royale or isn't a character shooter. In the overwhelming majority of cases, I feel like third-person is not used in a competitive setting, save for a few examples like Gears of War multiplayer or GunZ the Duel like we're talking about right now. Stick with me here for a second. Imagine a game that had decently difficult mechanics and an infinite skill ceiling like Rocket League. It's not so crazy difficult that a new player can't pick it up, but at the same time, the best players can keep improving for what feels like forever. Now, this same game uses those same mechanics that you learn to fight against other players in a combat scenario. In my head, it's a combination of 1, a melee weapon, and 2, a ranged weapon that does a ton of damage the more close up you get to an enemy to incentivize you to actually go in and fight, and less damage than the more farther away they get, but still the ability to do a little damage from far away. Every character, regardless of anything, has the same exact combat abilities. You would be equipped with the same exact weapons or abilities that the other player has. There is no difference there. The ultimate defining ability in this game would simply just be your skill. Now, once again, in the same game, imagine that the avatar that you're playing as, because it's tough to put a picture to it, imagine a third-person shooter is what I'm kind of thinking of with everything else I've described. And now imagine the avatar you're playing as is completely customizable. It's not locked behind abilities or breasts or penis. You can do or be or look like whatever you want, because at the end of the day, everyone is fair and equal, and the way the game would then be funded is through this extreme customization, which is like the only thing that Fortnite, in my opinion, does right, because at least in Fortnite you can like look awesome and cool and ridiculous. Okay, now wake up, because the game that you're imagining and that I'm talking about doesn't actually exist. We need a true spiritual successor to GunZ, because what I just described isn't GunZ. It's a better version of GunZ, which is what we deserve, because it's been 20 years or so since that game came out. The reason I want to talk about GunZ in the context of a video game revival video is because based on 0% factual evidence, I think that GunZ is actually getting revived and it's going to come to Steam probably sooner than you think. If you're new to my channel, I'm sorry that this isn't making a ton of sense to you, but I want to share something with my OG viewers, and I think that this will be interesting for a general audience too, to talk about why I think that this game is going to get a proper revival with some clues that I've found by scouring the internet. So anyone that's been following the GunZ community or me for the last couple of years will know that Masangsoft actually came out back in about 2019 and said that the game was going to be released internationally on Steam. This statement from Masangsoft, which they sent via an email to another player, really spiked the interest of the community again. There was a change petition that got like, I don't remember, but I want to say like over 50k signatures, which is crazy. I'm pretty sure it got a lot of signatures. If I'm way off on that, I'm sorry. Maybe like 10k, I don't know. But since that email that they told us that they were planning on bringing GunZ to Steam back in 2019, we've had nothing but radio silence. At least about GunZ. Maybe you heard in the last couple of years there's been like this global sickness going around or something. I don't personally know because I haven't left my house since 2013. If I could guess, this global sickness was probably a reason for why GunZ got a little bit delayed over the last couple of years and we've had nothing but radio silence. See, Masangsoft actually used to have this global partner that was a bit of like a community manager of sorts back when they announced this. That community manager himself actually did confirm that GunZ was delayed due to the whole global sickness thing. It also made it so that we no longer had a community manager for that company, so this was also the last communication we got. Man, we've had a last few fun years on Earth, haven't we, guys? By the way, I did actually leave my house since 2013. That was a joke. So the last update we have on GunZ doesn't seem particularly positive or uplifting, considering it was over 3 years ago now and we still have nothing, but I'm gonna try to ShamWow your minds into a little bit more positivity here. I'm positively convinced that GunZ Duel is probably still coming to Steam. Positively convinced, probably. I'm pretty convinced that GunZ Duel is gonna come to Steam, and let me tell you why. Have you ever heard of a game called RaiderZ? It's like GunZ with the Z at the end. It's RaiderZ with the Z at the end because it's kind of just, it's like GunZ Stepbro that's stuck in the dryer and it needs help to get out of the... What am I talking about? Anyways, well, Masangsoft has been really quiet about GunZ since that last update. They haven't been quiet about a few of the other ancient IP they own, one being RaiderZ and the other being a game called MicroVolts, which wasn't originally in a Mayet game. It wasn't related to GunZ in any way, but it is a third-person shooter made from a Korean developer. It kind of has like a similar story to GunZ. RaiderZ, since Mayet dissolved, has faced basically the same fate that GunZ has, except Masangsoft for some reason really gives a shit about RaiderZ. Probably because it's an MMO and MMOs be printing money. They've given quite a few updates on RaiderZ, so I will, you know, scroll the updates. I'll do the thing, you know, the updates will be there. They've been giving updates on Facebook, so to get these updates, I actually had to go into my grandmother's coffin and find her username and password that she always kept on her on a little index card so she didn't forget it. RIP, Grandma. And sorry for desecrating your grave. I didn't actually do that either. Long story short is, Masangsoft is going to be basically fully remastering and remaking RaiderZ. They're doing this by, they're basically taking the skeleton of that game and saying that they're making it more modern for the modern day MMO, so I'm assuming they're gonna throw some loot boxes in, you know, find some ways to make some money on that son of a bitch and then slap it up for us. But the point is that they are working on things and they're giving updates. They gave an update on RaiderZ as recently as earlier this year, like midway through 2022. So what I'm blabbing on about is that if Masangsoft is willing to show interest in RaiderZ, the other Mayet IP, there's a 0% reason that they wouldn't show interest in GunZ, given how much the community has shown out since they have purchased the IP that we care about this game internationally. After all, I don't see the cult following online for RaiderZ and MicroVolts at all. Like, who is making the decisions over there, actually? Like, what are you guys thinking? There's like 8 people at all excited about MicroVolts. You guys like launched this thing. It's up right now on Steam. There's like a global closed beta or whatever, and I checked the player charts and there's like nobody online. And maybe that's not accurate because it's a closed beta or whatever, but like I'm pretty sure like their subreddit's dead. There's no video. There's like a video about it. Nobody cares. Bring us GunZ. MicroVolts actually faces a very similar problem that GunZ has, is that the original company went defunct. The core community, while they care about the game, wasn't, you know, it wasn't as big as GunZ and had no way to play it again. But for some reason, they remastered that son of a gun and it's up on Steam. I can't believe it. I don't know why it's not GunZ and it's MicroVolts. I have all the stats in the world to show the interest for our game, GunZ. I literally 15 million impressions on my biggest GunZ video, just that one video. It's gotten over 1 million views, which, by the way, thank you guys. It's why I wanted to make this video and kind of talk about reviving good video games in general, to try to bring a more general audience into the GunZ community, who are probably the only ones even listening at this point. So thank you all. I just want to say thank you all so much for hitting 1 million views on that video. That is so crazy. That's so huge. I'm going to shut up about talking about game revivals. GunZ Duel deserves a game revival. It's not going to happen unless we literally have someone with so much money. If you're really rich, reach out to me, man. I got some good ideas. You got some stuff going on in this brain about how to make a really good third-person shooter with a fast action-paced combat. And oh my god, I'm so tired. Sweaty. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.